Time is either the sharpest blade or the deepest cut. In the hands of the powerful, it is a weapon, precise and devastating, used to strike when the enemy sleeps, to deceive when the rival trusts, to act while others wait. In the hands of the weak, it is a wound that festers, silently, slowly, until the rot of inaction devours the soul of ambition. The prince who understands this distinction becomes master over destiny, while the man who fails to grasp it becomes a slave to every fleeting hour that slips through his fingers like blood through a cracked chalice. The greatest illusion of men is the belief that time is abundant. They behave as if they can waste the morning and still own the night. But time is not land to be inherited, nor gold to be stored. It is a sword that turns in your hand if not gripped with discipline. Consider the man who rises late, whose steps are slow, whose thoughts never leave the realm of intention. He calls it patience, he calls it preparation, I call it paralysis. The man who moves fast terrifies the cautious, not because he is reckless, but because he reminds them of their cowardice. Power does not wait for the perfect hour. It is taken in the storm, not in the calm. It is seized in the crack between decisions, not in the safety of delay. If you do not use time, others will use it against you. They will plan while you ponder, they will build while you hesitate, they will strike while you dream. Time becomes their dagger, and you, mobile, proud, and unaware, become the target. The battlefield of life does not allow neutrality. Even in silence, you declare your position. The man who wastes the morning has already surrendered the evening. The prince who delays action while seeking certainty will watch his throne rot beneath him. The world is not ruled by the wise who wait, but by the bold who act and make their mistakes into lessons, not excuses. In politics, as in war, timing is the difference between victory and humiliation. The emperor who attacks too soon may lose the war, but the one who waits too long ensures his defeat. When your enemy hesitates, that is the moment to strike, not later. When your ally doubts you, that is the moment to command, not console. Delay is a luxury for those who serve. It is not permitted to those who rule. Even indecision is a form of decision, a surrender masked in sophistication. The man who spends his life sharpening his sword may never taste battle, but the man who enters combat with imperfect steel may still win by the strength of his will. Observe how nature honors urgency. The lion does not wait for perfect weather to kill. The storm does not consult the land before it strikes. Only man, corrupted by comfort and distracted by illusions of permanence, dares to postpone the essential. He builds plans in the mind but leaves his hands idle. He dreams of thrones yet walks without fire. To such men, time is not a tool but a tormentor, whispering what could have been as each hour burns away unnoticed. The pain they feel is not caused by others. It is the wound they inflicted upon themselves when they chose not to act. There are only two kinds of men in this world, those who command time and those who are condemned by it. The first group carves kingdoms from chaos, molds power from moments, and takes what they have no permission to claim. The second group waits for signs, for approval, for guarantees, and receives only decay. Time cannot be managed, it must be dominated. It cannot be reasoned with, it must be obeyed like a general obeys the drum of war. Your name will not be remembered for what you hoped to do, but for what you did before the hourglass emptied. The grain of sand does not care for your excuses, it falls all the same. The wise do not plead for more time, they make war with what they have. To hesitate is to accept defeat without admitting it. It is a concession masked in thought, a betrayal wrapped in caution. While the hesitant man waits for the stars to align, the cunning man moves under a clouded sky and claims the kingdom. There is no virtue in delay when the world is governed by movement. In matters of power, the man who pauses invites domination. His hesitation becomes an open door through which bolder men enter, and from which he is pushed out into irrelevance. The battlefield does not wait for the unsure, and the court does not favor the timid. One who hesitates confesses, not in words but in silence, that he is not prepared to seize what he desires. When a man faces a moment of decision and fails to act, he believes he is preserving his position. In truth, he is relinquishing it. Power is never stagnant. It is either expanding or contracting. The prince who does not advance is already retreating. There is no middle ground where one may pause in peace. That place does not exist. Nature does not permit stillness. Even the stone that does not move is slowly worn down by the wind. The mind that waits for certainty breeds nothing but decay. Hesitation gives birth to regret, and regret is the child of cowardice. Observe how your enemies behave. They do not wait for you to make your move. They strike when you falter, and they do so not because they are stronger, but because they are faster. They understand that speed confuses, that suddenness intimidates, that action, even imperfect, often triumphs over strategy. A lion that leaps with miscalculation may still feast, but a lion that waits too long dies with dignity, which is another word for failure. History does not remember those who almost acted. It glorifies those who did. Victory does not go to the most prepared, but to the most resolved. Fortune favors the bold not because they are flawless, but because they do not hesitate. The man who hesitates begins to question his own power, and others soon follow. Doubt spreads like disease. One moment of indecision is enough to unravel the entire fabric of authority. The army loses faith. The court begins to whisper. The adversary becomes confident, and the people, ever watchful, lose their fear. Fear is the pillar of control, and hesitation shatters that pillar in an instant. A prince must act with such conviction that even when he is wrong, the illusion of certainty shields him from revolt. It is better to act rashly and correct than to hesitate and appear weak. In the chamber of decision, thought must be swift and execution immediate. The mind that lingers too long becomes ensnared in endless alternatives. Options become obstacles. The abundance of possibilities turns the man into a prisoner of his own mind. Great men do not ask if they should act. They ask only how best to act now. They do not seek perfect outcomes, because they understand the perfect is the enemy of the powerful. To rule, one must accept the cost of imperfection and move anyway. The river of power does not flow through those who wait on the shore. It carries away the ones who dive without delay. Consider the general who stands upon the hill, watching his enemy organize, doubting the strength of his own forces, hesitating for a more opportune moment. That general is already defeated. He believes he is buying time, but he is selling advantage. His soldiers feel his doubt, and their loyalty rots. His enemy sees his stillness and grows bold. His allies wonder if they should follow a man who will not lead. In that hesitation, his empire dies before a single blade is drawn. Inaction is not neutrality. It is suicide disguised as strategy. The same rule applies in politics, in war, in business, in ambition. A prince must be like fire, consuming, unpredictable, constant in motion. Fire that pauses is fire extinguished. The moment you hesitate, you give the world permission to act in your place, and the world is always eager to obey. The weak man believes he can think his way to dominance. But power belongs to those who do not think forever, but who think just enough to act. You must understand that every hesitation is a signal, to your rivals, to your allies, to yourself, that you are not prepared to rule. It is not a pause. It is not a breath. It is a silent confession that you are willing to lose what you have not yet dared to claim. Power does not reside in intention. It does not heed the silent wish nor bow to the carefully crafted plan that remains imprisoned in the mind. Power answers only to action. A man may dream of thrones and speak of empires, yet if he does not move, he is but a poet bleeding into the wind. The court may be full of those who speak with elegance, who strategize endlessly, who whisper theories into each other's ears. But the throne is not given to the most articulate. It is seized by the most decisive. The world belongs not to those who think best, but to those who act first. Men deceive themselves with the comfort of preparation. They rehearse speeches, write doctrines, calculate every move in the false hope of perfection. But in that time another has acted. While they ponder, another man has taken what they thought was theirs. The only proof of authority is action. All else is illusion. Words can be denied, promises can be broken, titles can be stripped. But action, once taken, marks the world. It is the only thing that cannot be erased. It is the iron stamp on the wax of history. He who acts imposes his will upon the world. He forces others to react. He shifts the landscape by the weight of his choices. He does not wait for the world to give him permission. He reshapes it by sheer motion. The man who hesitates asks, "What is allowed?" The man of power demands, "What is possible?" This is the dividing line between those who rule and those who observe. The spectator lives in commentary. The ruler lives in conquest. For every idle man with thoughts of power, there is a rival who is already moving to strip him of the chance to realize it. Action makes men obey. It creates fear. It creates admiration. Even if the action is flawed, it earns respect. A prince who makes a mistake in boldness is feared more than one who is perfect in stillness. The populace does not remember the intent behind decisions. They remember who moved and who stood still. The man who acts projects strength. His enemies grow cautious. His allies grow loyal. His presence is felt even in absence, because action leaves a shadow, a consequence, a pressure that continues to work long after the moment has passed. You may deceive a man with words, you may distract him with promises, but you conquer him only with movement. The sword that remains sheathed forever is no more threatening than a stick. A law that is not enforced is a suggestion. A threat that is not acted upon becomes a joke. Therefore, all strength must be shown through action. Without it, power is not real, it is imagined. To gain power, to keep it, to grow it, one must strike, one must build, one must destroy, one must decide. Not someday, not when all is clear, but now, especially when it is not. There are men who act and men who are acted upon. If you are not shaping events, you are being shaped by them. If you do not create pressure, you are being crushed by it. Those who sit in silence and contemplate the next step are already falling behind. To stand still is to drift into servitude. There is no honor in hesitation, no glory in excessive caution. He who strikes first does not have to strike again. The fear he creates becomes his sword. The results he produces become his armor. Action is both offense and defense, the tool and the shield. A man of power must understand that every gesture, every decree, every decision is a declaration. It says, "I exist, I move, I impose." It does not require explanation. It does not beg for agreement. It demands obedience through the clarity of its execution. The one who acts defines the terms. The others adapt or perish. The will to act must surpass the desire to be liked, the fear of error, the craving for praise. He who acts becomes legend. He who waits becomes memory. Action separates the rulers from the ruled, the feared from the forgotten, the immortal from the irrelevant. Comfort is the soft poison that dulls ambition and turns conquerors into caretakers. It whispers lies to the powerful, convincing them they have arrived when in truth they have only begun. A man at ease is a man disarmed. The very moment he finds peace in his position, he begins to rot beneath the surface. Comfort breeds indulgence, indulgence breeds weakness, and weakness invites rivals. The prince who surrounds himself with luxury becomes blind to threats, deaf to urgency, and numb to the demands of dominion. He no longer commands from hunger, but from habit, and habit is no substitute for will. He who clings to comfort forfeits the fire required to rule. Observe any empire in decay, and you will find men who chose rest over vigilance. They abandoned discipline for decadence, clarity for indulgence, austerity for ceremony. The barbarians never breached their gates through superior strength, but because the gates were left unguarded while the rulers feasted. Comfort teaches the ruler to ignore hardship, to detest friction, to recoil from toil. But it is through toil that power is gained, through friction that character is sharpened, and through hardship that clarity is born. The throne is not a place of rest, it is a crucible. The ruler who forgets this turns his crown into a noose. Men are not born to be comfortable, they are born to strive, to suffer, to sharpen themselves against the resistance of the world. The moment that resistance is removed, they decay into mediocrity. The general who spares his men from fatigue will see them fall not to swords but to sloth. The king who offers ease to his court will breed conspirators, not loyalists. Comfort pacifies, and pacification is death in the theater of power. It weakens the body, clouds the mind, and erodes the soul. The man who fears pain more than insignificance is not fit to lead. The pursuit of greatness demands war, sometimes against others, always against the self. A ruler must wake with restlessness, sleep with caution, eat with moderation, and command with sharpness. His eyes must be fixed not on pleasure but on danger. He must be more comfortable in tension than in relaxation, more at home in the battlefield than in the banquet hall. The enemies of his reign are not always visible. They are found in his comforts, in the gold-lined pillows, in the loyal flatterers, in the softness that replaces strength. These are the assassins of empire, cloaked not in daggers but in silk. A leader must cultivate discomfort. He must resist the temptation to settle. He must keep hunger alive, even when he is full. The man who has everything must still behave like the man who has everything to lose. Only then does he preserve the edge that keeps the throne beneath him. The sword that is never used becomes dull. The prince who is never challenged becomes a shadow of himself. Comfort makes men forget the blood it took to rise, and those who forget that blood are soon forced to spill it again. The comfort you seek will betray you. It will disguise itself as reward, as rest, as peace. But peace is a brief illusion between storms, and only the foolish believe it is permanent. The wise prepare while others sleep. The strong build while others feast. The cunning suffer so that others may collapse in indulgence. To rule is not to relax. It is to remain vigilant while others grow weak. The prince who grows accustomed to comfort is no longer feared. And the prince who is not feared invites rebellion. Comfort also breeds entitlement. It convinces the ruler that power is his by right, not by effort. But power is not inherited. It is maintained by force, by will, by perpetual effort. The man who does not fight to keep it has already lost it in spirit. The empire does not rest on gold, nor walls, nor armies. It rests on the discomfort of its ruler. When he chooses ease over urgency, his enemies grow bold. When he favors celebration over sacrifice, his influence begins to slip. And once it slips, there is no comfort in the fall. Time spares none in its unforgiving march, and you will find no pause in the relentless progression of fate. In this vast theater of existence, there are only two states, the vigorous stride of advancement or the slow decay of decline. To be still is to be left behind, for the world itself moves with a feverish urgency that offers no quarter to those who do not rise to meet its pace. Every decision, every moment, Every heartbeat is a measure of progress or a signal of deterioration. A man in pursuit of greatness must acknowledge that his actions, whether bold or timid, determine his position on this unyielding scale. The moment one succumbs to complacency, to the seduction of comfort and the lull of inertia, a subtle but fatal shift begins. Stagnation is not neutrality, it is a descent. When you cease to push forward, when you allow the cadence of your ambition to falter, you implicitly yield the field to those who are unremitting in their pursuit. In the realm of power, waiting is akin to dying. If you are not actively forging ahead, your adversaries are advancing, and soon you will be swept away in the current of their resolve. Every empire and every dynasty is built upon an unbroken chain of decisive actions that propelled them forward. Yet history is equally replete with the ruins of those who once held power but grew complacent. The former conqueror turned demure custodian becomes prey to a subtle, corrosive erosion of his authority. For the moment, he relaxes his vigilance. He surrenders a fragment of his influence to rival forces gathering strength in the shadows. Time, indifferent to sentiment, rewards ceaseless effort and punishes passive delay. In the grand calculus of destiny, to choose inaction is to choose obsolescence. Within this stark binary of progress and decay lies the true essence of authority. An advancing man is like a relentless tide that reshapes the coastline of power with every surge. His every action reinforces his dominion. His every victory lays a foundation for future triumphs. He thrives on the momentum of his own ambition, drawing strength from the knowledge that he is the architect of his fate. His endeavors, though fraught with risks and occasional missteps, push him steadily forward. He learns, adapts, and overcomes, leaving behind the feeble echoes of a bygone self. His legacy is carved in the annals of time through ceaseless struggle and unwavering commitment to progress. Conversely, those who linger in the comfort of past glories or the false security of established routines are condemned to a slow, inevitable decline. Their once vibrant ambitions grow pallid in the face of change, and their forces, once fierce and resolute, become disorganized and weakened by indecision. The energy that was once the engine of their rise now becomes a rusting chain that binds them to a fate of irrelevance. Their decline is not marked by dramatic cataclysms or sudden downfalls, but by the quiet erosion of their influence, a gradual slipping from the pedestal of power into the abyss of obsolescence. The kingdom of men is ruled by the dynamic, not by those ensnared in the slow dance of nostalgia. Every heartbeat offers a choice: to press onward with decisive actions or to become mired in the inertia of what once was. The very nature of existence compels you to discern the signs of progress within yourself, to recognize that each moment is an opportunity to either conquer new ground or to let the sands of time erode your legacy. There is no middle ground, no neutral state between rising and falling. To be static is to begin the process of descending into the darkness of past achievements that no longer serve the present. The relentless pace of time spares no one, and in its march, it distinguishes those who strive to leave an indelible mark from those destined to become mere footnotes in history.